All right, so we're going over to the next section, and Lawrence is going to take us away on the statistical part of the financial section.
Thank you, Karen. We're going to go to the financial section, which the treasurers are interested in, and the clerk of sessions are not necessarily. Obviously, the whole statistical report is split into two because finances and stats are filled out frequently by two different people. So now for the finances and a couple of comments. You're going to get the information from your financial statements. Now, these may not line up line by line, but normally and frequently they should reconcile. The numbers should work out to be the same. There may be some accounting reasons why there would be a difference, in which case you should just note on a reconciliation statement or line somewhere what that difference is. And be sure to round to the nearest dollar. We're not interested in the pennies here. Okay, next slide. Getting into part 2, finances, accommodation. We want to know how you accommodate your primary minister, your main minister. So first off, do you own a manse? And yes or no. If you own a manse, we're interested in what the fair rental value of that manse is. Not what it's actually rented out for necessarily, but what the fair rental value would be. This would be determined by a professional, not yourself, but a realtor or a rental management company, if they can give you an estimate. And if you do own a manse, does your principal minister live in the manse? Yes or no? And then following down, we want to look at, if the minister is not in the manse, what is the accommodation allowance? Now that's fairly straightforward because on your budget, you probably have a line that says housing allowance, and that's what you put in there. And a reminder that the housing allowance being paid should be reviewed regularly. That's our law, our rules, using a professional. And that would regularly usually means annually, certainly should not exceed every 3 years. And then what is the accommodation allowance paid to any other professional church workers? Now, professional church workers is defined later, but in brief, it's a second minister, assistant minister, Christian educator, a diaconal minister, or a youth worker. If you're paying an accommodation allowance to them, please put it in there. Okay, next, a simple question: what is the total debt, long-term debt, on congregational property? So if you have mortgages or something that exceeds just a short term, a few years, this is what you fill in on line 12. And now be sure to include the date that you submitted your T3010 for last year, month, day, year. This is part of ensuring that one was submitted. If you fail to submit, there are frequently severe consequences, such as losing your charitable status and the work and the expense of having to reapply. Now, if you're a new congregation, or if for some reason, and this is infrequent, you had a change in your Canada Revenue CRA business number, please contact Jackie, as well as your presbytery clerk, to inform them. It's not frequent that that happens, but for new congregations, we need to know that number. So any questions off of that little introduction to the finance section?
Yes, we have a few. First question, what do we put in line 11C if the pulpit is vacant?
If the pulpit is vacant. Well, if the pulpit is vacant, you would have no housing allowance. So that would be 0. The question is the actual housing allowance paid.
Great. Please describe the process if a manse is shared between several congregations.
Then you should proportion it out relative to your congregation's percentage of the budget of the support for that minister. So just prorate it.
Okay, and who reviews the manse allowance?
Sorry, who would?
Who reviews the manse allowance?
Well, the board, it'd be a board responsibility to ensure that it happens. So the board would appoint somebody to simply have a realtor or a rental management firm come and give an estimation of what the fair rental value would be.